Good evening, everyone. I'm CA Prajakta Chincholkar, and I welcome you all on this webinar series over internal audit of procurement in digitalized world, organized by Internal Audit Standards Board, ICAI. And we are really glad to have with us today the chairman of Internal Audit Standard Boards, CA Chandrasekhar Chitare sir, who has been our guiding force and mentor for all of us. So I request Chitare sir to give his welcome address for the session.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Prajakta. And I welcome the audience for today's webinar on Internal Audit Standards Board. And today we are going to talk about internal audit of sourcing function. Mr. Prakash Kulkarni is a very resourceful person himself. So actually, we have resourced him for the purpose of enlightening members on resource function internal audit, because he is having great experience in this particular field for more than 4 decades. Friends, as you are aware, in case of internal audit, there are various areas in which the client expects us to focus. And if you focus in depth in a particular area, because unlike statutory audit, where one has to see the compliance with the law, regulations, procedures, etc. And if it is compliant, then well, the true and fair view is executed. But in case of internal audit, something more is expected. Some value addition is expected, either improvement in economy or reduction of cost, or maybe if there are better controls which can be achieved where one feels that controls are weak. So all these aspects come, and in detail you have to deal with it, and it gives really satisfaction when you conduct internal audit that yes, some value add has been made. So on various aspects we are having this webcast, and today one more aspect of internal audit of sourcing we are dealing with, and we are very lucky to have an expert faculty to deal with this subject. So I commend you this particular thing. If you have any queries, maybe you can post them in chat box, and Prajakta can ask them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chitare sir, for your words of wisdom. And as he has rightly mentioned, internal audit is something wherein we add value. I have come across one wonderful quote about internal audit, that internal audit is not only about finding faults, but it is about building trust, strengthening systems, and also enabling the sustainable success. So often when client asks us a question, why audit? So we can tell them that what gets measured gets managed, but what gets audited gets improved. And internal audit is obviously one of the very important functions in it. And as Chitare sir has rightly mentioned, we have a very resourceful and eminent faculty with us, CA Prakash Kulkarni sir. I welcome you for this session, and I grab an opportunity to introduce you in front of all the participants. He is a senior partner in GD Apte and Company, chartered accountancy firm. He's associated with the firm since 40 years long. To tell you a few milestones about his academic career, that apart from being a practicing chartered accountant, he is also a certified information system auditor, CISA. He's also a certified internal auditor. He has also bagged two more certifications held by ICAI, that is DISA, Diploma in Information System Audit, and he is also a certificate holder in Forensic Accounting and Fraud Detection, FAFD, as we often call. He is also an insolvency resolution professional, and his professional experience, if I could talk about, ranges from internal audit, central, statutory, and concurrent audits, and it includes various verticals such as public sector companies, private sector cooperative banks. It also includes district central cooperative bank, and the vertical ranges from manufacturing, infrastructure to service sectors. We have been listening to him over the various seminars conducted by ICAI on bank audit and internal audit subjects. He has also been a past president of ISACA, Pune chapter, and we are indeed glad to have you with us today, sir. So the dais is all yours. CA Prakash Kulkarni, sir, over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Chitray sir, for your introduction, very wise introduction, and thank you, Prajakta, for these good words. I will just start with my PPT, and we can discuss. It should not be a monologue, but considering that it is a webinar, you can reserve your questions, and if it is too important, we can take in between. Otherwise, we'll take all the questions later on at the end. Yeah. I hope PPT is visible. Hello.
Yes, sir, it's visible. It's visible.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, good afternoon to all my professional colleagues. The topic given to me under internal audit is internal audit of procurement function, which is one of the important functions, and how it can be carried out in the digitalized world. Procurement, as all of you are aware, it is the important cost in statement of PL of any enterprise, any company, except NGOs, etc. Wherever you manufacture something or you any company doing trading or similar activities, procurement cost, that is cost of materials and services consumed, it varies between say 40% to 85% of the cost of the organization. So it is one of the major cost on which the profitability of the enterprise depends. And so this function is also very important. We'll deal with various facets of procurement, why it is important. Apart from cost, there are various facets. We'll deal during the course of our deliberations. This is the brief outline of the presentation. We will discuss shortly about evolvement of procurement function in last, say, some of the years. Then digitization and digitalization, there is a subtle difference between both of them. We'll just understand this difference between two. Then procurement function, what changes have taken place during say last 25, 30 years in this function, that we will understand, and how internal audit is carried out or it can be carried out uh, in this for this procurement function, including one of the important part, that is AI, how AI will be used in procurement function as such, and in the audit, internal audit also. We'll briefly discuss. Of course, Institute has rightly introduced the course, separate course on AI, and Institute is taking a lot of efforts on that. So we are not going to deal with it. We cannot deal with in much detail, but we'll touch upon on this aspect also. So first we will see how procurement function has evolved during last many years. Earlier, maybe 50 years back, it was a totally manual function carried out by people with paper. Entire work was done on papers. Computers were not introduced. So all the activities which were required to be done in procurement function, they were done on paper. It may be collecting quotations from vendors, analyzing them, raising purchase orders, receiving invoices, recording invoices in books, because in pre-computerized arena it was being written in hardbound registers, and GRNs, all the internal and external documents, they were on paper. And also audit was carried out by verification of all these documents, and uh, paper-based audit. That was old area, but yes, it existed maybe 50 years back, 40 years back. We'll not discuss much about this, but many of you may be knowing how things happened during this period. Then computers were introduced in India, maybe after 84 computers, personal computers were introduced. Large computers were introduced in other companies, large companies prior to that. But for common people, personal computers became the buzzword after 1985. So what was the scenario that time? Standalone systems were used for procurement function, inventory management function, finance function, etc. And all the data was maintained in these standalone systems. Computers were being used for certain selected functions like generation of purchase orders. Of course, data was not stored electronically that time. All the documents, printouts were taken and stored in the files. It may be purchase orders or GRN. Comparative analysis of quotations. This was done being initially manually. Then spreadsheet, that is Lotus and similar spreadsheets were introduced in 1985. Later on, Excel was introduced after 90s and data was compiled in these spreadsheets. But majority of the work was done with, again, printed documents with some electronic data. One of the important functions in purchase audit that time was three-way matching of bills, documents, that is purchase order, GRN, and purchase invoices. This was also being done manually with little help from computers. Then maybe after 95 or 2000, ERPs were introduced, enterprise resource planning systems. You are aware about them, SAP or Oracle. There are a lot number of ERPs which are introduced in India also. Tally is one of them, Tally ERP. So these were introduced and a variety of functions were handled in these ERPs, say including production planning, vendors management, procurement management, inventory management, sales and distribution management, logistics, etc. Initially may not be all the functions, but now as we have progressed, all these functions are handled in ERP. One of the feature was finance and costing was also integrated with this, and all the documents were generated from this ERP. Later on, approvals also, instead of taking them on documents, they were taken online, and various data was prepared with the help of ERP itself. Like what is important in procurement is comparative analysis of quotations, etc. These was also handled in ERPs. Of course, inventory management, GRNs, issue consumption, these was also handled in ERP. Later on, this three-way match of documents was configured in the ERP itself, and accounts department and auditors were relieved. They could get real-time data of, say, purchase orders, GRNs, and invoices. And auditors could use this data for the purpose of their audit. Later on, this digitalization, extent of digitalization increased in last 20-25 years, and e-procurement became the buzzword. All the functions of procurement, like informing the vendors, tendering process, auctioning process, sourcing process, ordering, invoicing, etc., goods receiving, invoice accounting, this was being done electronically. Initially, with the help of only ERP. Now, after introduction of smartphones in last 10 years, apps have been, mobile applications have been developed, and a lot of functions are being undertaken with the help of these mobile apps also. And many of you are aware, we are using various apps in our personal life for ordering various items on online, and we are also making payment of them on online. So if we compare with pre-computerized area, that all the functions were being handled manually, now most of these functions are being handled electronically. So also audit has to evolve and it has to be carried out electronically. So title of this procurement also changed. Initially, it was called the purchase department. Later on, it was called procurement department, and now it is a supply chain management. Not only just procurement of materials, entire supply chain of materials, services, inbound and outbound, that is raw materials, packing materials, as well as our finished goods. So this is the supply chain management function. It involves processes, either computerized processes, manual processes. People is still important part because people will always run these processes. And documents. Documents earlier were manual documents in the form on paper. Now almost all the documents are handled electronically or prepared electronically. Now we will just spend few minutes on digitization and digitalization. What is the difference? Digitization is converting existing data, maybe on paper, existing data, documents, etc., from say analog data on paper into digital format. Government of India and state governments have taken also companies in private sector, public sector, they have taken massive exercise of digitization of documents so that all the data which was earlier available in paper form in the registers, it is available in digitized form. And it is easy to access this data efficiently. It can be accessed. We can retrieve data. We can be sitting at any place, and if you have got access to this data on the website, we can access the same. So this is ease of access, ease and efficiency of accessing the data. Digitalization is the use of digital technologies to change a business model and provide new revenue and value producing opportunities. It is the process of moving to a digital business. The definition is given by Gartner. And during last 5 or 8 years, we have seen that not only it is used in business, but it is used in household also. Earlier, all of us had to go to shop, buy vegetables, groceries, and all whatever we want. We have to visit and personally visit and bring them on our own. Now this has changed totally with the digital technology. We are doing online purchasing, online marketing. So digitalization has changed the entire process of not only in the business, not only in government, in business, but our life also has changed. Digitalization moves beyond digitization, leveraging digital information technology to entirely transform a business process, collecting and analyzing data on real-time basis. Real time is very important. Earlier, availability of data information, it used to happen in piecemeal basis, on batch basis. But now our data is available on real-time basis. Earlier, we have to go to bank and obtain the bank statement, inquire our bank balance. But whenever do any transaction on our UPI, we get instantly the message of the recording of transactions in our books, in the books of the bank in our account, and we get the balance also. Many of the banks communicate balance. Your balance has been reduced by so and so amount. So this is on real-time basis. Still research, this is maybe 2-3 years back, 79% of the companies use spreadsheet for supply chain planning. It has got changed now. Most of them are using tools, various tools, and less than 25% say that their supply chain plans are integrated with their company's manufacturing, procurement, and sales department. This integration has taken place on a massive scale, not only in large businesses, but in small business also. Why small businesses? If you see your grocery shop or your medical shop, they are also using apps nowadays for getting their orders. They will not require you to send you a list or in a notebook what you require. Grocery shop will say, at least send on WhatsApp and I will send them. Now they have also introduced apps so that we can put our order on app and they will implement it. So this integration has started. Now, what are the technologies which have been introduced in this e-procurement or in the digitalized world? There are a variety of technologies. We are aware about some of them. We are using some of them, like cloud data and cloud computing. Entire data is on cloud. All the majority of the large companies, even medium scale, smaller companies, they are putting their data on cloud. And so we are not required to maintain that in our in-house and maintaining server, etc. Blockchain technology has been used. Quantum computing has been used in sciences. Augmented, virtual, and extended reality. It is also a technology. So we can sit in our home and see various temples, various places, as if we are visiting them. This is reality technology. Artificial intelligence, we did not discuss much about that. All of you are aware and Many of you have done courses on artificial intelligence, how to use tools like CIGPT for our day-to-day use. Internet of Things, robotics technology. Robotics technology is not only used in manufacturing and sciences, but it has been used in audit also. A tool of, say, robotic process automation is being used for data extraction, etc. Big data analysis, we'll discuss about that. 3D printing, it is being used for printing purposes. 5G technology has been introduced, so we are using 5G. And all of them bring various important risk of cyber security risk. And we are facing that, and we are, Institute also has arranged webinars on this cyber security because everybody is facing those risks. We'll discuss briefly about these technologies. IoT devices monitor supply chains, physical machinery, equipment, vehicles. Earlier, we were not knowing when the delivery is made by a company to its, say, supplier, to a customer, or delivery is received. Data was not being updated instantly, but because of this IoT technology, instantly data is updated, and it is carried in ERP also. So this IoT technology is being used in inventory, warehouse, asset management, logistics, etc. It facilitates a lot of tracking mechanism to know the position. Suppose vehicle is sent outside, what is the position of this vehicle? It is used, it is known due to GPS and IoT technology. Cloud computing, it is a lot of application. Many applications are being used on cloud. So availability of data is not an issue. Fast availability of data. Most of the procurement automation tools offer cloud-based data storage. There are various tools of procurement. We'll discuss about some of them. Big data analysis. These tools are being used for predictive analysis, for demand forecasting, etc. Risk analysis is being carried out on variety of data, large data. Data mining is done so that large data of past years is maintained, and earlier data of, in computerized environment, data of only few years was available on our PC. Now this data is maybe kept aside on separate cloud, and data of maybe last 5 years or 10 years, it is available wherever required. Slice and dice analysis, that is, data is broken into small groups, and analysis is done on that. That is slice and dice technologies. Artificial intelligence, and this is being used in procurement, and slowly we'll start using this in our internal audit also. Intelligent sourcing of materials, then predictive analysis, we talked about this. Demand forecasting. This demand forecasting is very much important in a variety of businesses. We take example of DMart. DMart organizes some sale during particular day in a fortnight or a month. So they have to forecast the demand. Suppose they are declaring sale of a product, some discount on their products. What demand, for which products demand will be there. So they will analyze data of past, say, 1 year, 2 years. This analysis will be done store wise, and then they will ascertain which goods will be required, which goods will be required to be stored in a particular store, and accordingly they will take actions on that. There are automated contract analysis. Contracts are being entered with vendors, and AI will facilitate analysis of various contracts ready-made, which earlier was being done manually. Intelligent vendor performance evaluation. Performance of vendors is assessed on periodical basis, say quarterly or annual basis. And for this, AI is being used to collect data from various sources about delivery, quality, etc. And this analysis will be used by procurement department. Automated purchase order processing monitoring. This will be handled also with the tools available with procurement department, for AI tools available. So these are new technologies being used in digitalized world in procurement function. How it has helped? It has helped by increasing transparency of operations, reducing human errors. It is likely that when we are compiling data manually, errors may take place. They used to take place. They can be avoided. Reducing cost, Chitra sir told that it is one of the important function, and cost can be reduced with electronic handling of this lot of data. Automating tedious tasks. Some of the tasks are very tedious. Suppose we get 50 quotation, putting that data manually, even in Excel sheet is a tedious task. It can be automated. Competitive edge. Any business, if they have to compete on price, they have to be competitive, and they have to use all these technologies. Eliminating transaction disputes, because confirmation. Suppose we have received the goods. Once we receive in our factory, immediately supplier will be intimated. Earlier, this used to take time, so we can reduce these disputes. Higher operational efficiency, scalability, and adaptability. This can be achieved with digitalization and continuous improvement, which is the aim of any company. This can be achieved with these technologies. Now we'll see a procurement function. Part of this we'll see here and part in audit also. We'll briefly discuss about procurement function. There are a variety of industries which are require materials and services of various types. There are basic industries like steel, cement, petroleum products, other metals. Manufacturing industry of variety of types. Automobiles is one of them, and procurement function is very important. Why important? Because automobile, if we see, many of you, most of you use cars, and there are about 30,000 to 40,000 parts in a car, parts or components which are being used. So when one car is required to be assembled, this is 40,000, 30 to 40,000 parts will be assembled together, and one car will be rolled out. And so they prepare their plan. Any automobile company, so they will roll out say 100, 200, 400,000 cars during the day or week or month, whatever it is. So they will require all these parts uh, readily available before they take up the manufacturing, and during the process of their assembly they will require. So procurement function, making availability of all these parts at the right time, right period, of right quality, which is very important. Other industries also, this is important. Variety of manufacturing industries, will not go through all of them. Agro products, some of these companies are agro based, like sugar, vegetable oils, tea, etc. Food products, which is also very important, and all their raw materials are agro based, so they will be available during a particular period after the agro season. They will be required to be stored, and then they will be used. The procurement cycle for these agro products is totally different. Infrastructure industry, infrastructure has taken a boom in India during last 10 or years or so, and there are a variety of infrastructure companies like electricity, roads, housing, etc., ports, airports, and there also procurement function is important. Apart from materials, they require a variety of services also. Each company requires a variety of services, and there are service companies also, transport companies, logistic companies, hospital, education. These are the service industry which are catering to us. Then there are finance companies, banks, insurance, NBFC, etc. And trading. Trading also is the important part, because whatever is manufactured by these manufacturing companies, it will reach consumers through these trading companies, retail, jewelry, household products, etc. Now, what are the categories of procurement we are talking about? There will be direct materials like raw materials, bought out components, intermediates, primary packing materials, etc. They will be part of the main product. They will be composed in the product. There will be indirect material like consumable stores, secondary packing materials, etc. Then companies require subcontracting services. Certain part of manufacturing they carry out in-house, and certain part is subcontracted. And this subcontracting activity is also part of procurement department. And often it is covered in internal audit. A lot of efforts are required in carrying out the internal audit of subcontracting activity. They will require a variety of services for manufacturing and other functions, including transportation services. In manufacturing, certain part of the work will be carried out in-house and certain part will be outsourced. Certain services like painting and a variety of services which are or processes which are carried out on the raw materials, and certain part will be outsourced. Capital asset acquisition of capital assets is also important part, fixed asset, and so it will be handled either by procurement department or projects department of the companies. Now we'll discuss certain procurement functions we'll discuss and how internal audit will be carried out. What are the objectives? Why procurement department audit is important, and with what objectives we should carry it out? First is first and foremost role of any auditor is to identify irregularities. If something is not happening as per the policies, procedures laid down by the company, rules, regulations, auditors, it is foremost duty of the auditors to point out these irregularities. That is the age-old duty of the auditor to report these irregularities so that corrective action is taken to rectify those irregularities, and also corrective steps are taken to avoid these irregularities in day to come, either by way of change of process or training the people, whatever way, by ascertaining the root cause of these irregularities. Then maintains compliance. Apart from compliance with policies and procedures, statutory compliance is also a very important part in any enterprise. So compliance function is also very important, and it is the role of the internal auditor. Accelerate procurement efficiency and reduce bottlenecks. So any enterprise to be successful and remain successful, it has to operate very efficiently. And this procurement department is also required to increase its efficiency by a variety of means so that organization objectives are achieved. So internal auditor will find out what are the bottlenecks, what are the inefficient processes, if any, and how to increase efficiency in that. And he has to give value addition on this. We are discussing about role of internal auditor. Apart from these irregularities, he has to give value addition to the enterprise by promoting this efficiency. Improve procure to pay cycle time. This is very important, reducing the cycle time, because it will reduce the level of inventory as well as value of inventory, release working capital. So cycle time, reducing cycle time or improving cycle time is very important. We are discussing about automobile companies which require 30,000 or 40,000 parts of various types for manufacture of a vehicle or car. So if they want to roll out certain products batches on everyday basis, they are required to store this with them so that these cars will be rolled out. And if this cycle time is reduced, then their inventory will be reduced and cost will be reduced. So many of them has adopted the technique of just-in-time inventory. So they will receive inventory on the earlier day evening, and they will issue next day morning for the purpose of assembly. So they have reduced cycle time. This just-in-time inventory is a Japanese technique and used in many of the companies nowadays. Improving spending performance with strategic negotiation. Negotiations with vendors for deciding price is very important part, and cost of the consumption of materials will be reduced if we get the materials at better price, reduced price. So this spending performance will be improved. This is one of the important tasks of any procurement department. They will be given tasks that reduce your cost by 1% in this year. So that will add to the profit. And internal auditor can play an important role in this improving spending performance, streamlining procurement workflows and minimize disruptions, reduce procurement risk. There are a variety of risks in procurement. We'll deal with that in a subsequent slide. And avoid fraud. Yes, fraud can take place in any of the functions whenever people have intention of deceiving. So avoidance of fraud, minimizing of fraud will be a role of the internal auditor. Whenever there are risk involved and chances of fraud, internal auditor has to point out them to the management. So these are some of the important objectives of procurement audit. Now, earlier internal audit was undertaken in batches, maybe after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, like that. Internal audit used to take place. But in case of procurement department, especially in large companies, continuous auditing has been introduced. Continuous auditing or continuous monitoring as against periodical audit. How much continuous? Maybe on daily basis. So whatever transactions have taken place, either by issuance of purchase orders or recording of purchase invoices during the earlier day, say from 12 night of one day, say Monday to 12 night of Tuesday, whatever transactions have taken place, that data will be extracted. That function also is automated in case of large companies. These routine audit tasks have been automated. So with the help of RPA, this data will be extracted. It will be electronically audited automatically. And whatever queries have taken place, whatever queries have been observed, they will be automatically emailed to the concerned people for compliance. So this continuous auditing has been introduced in many of the large companies, not only globally, but in India also. Then a lot of analytics, as we say, data analytics has been done, and internal auditors have to use this data and use these resources for the purpose of audit, like processing KPIs of key performance indicators of supplier, staff, and in procurement department. Supplier metrics is analyzed with help of data analytics. Risk profiling of vendors, it is carried out, it is audited by internal auditors, and comments are given. Spend analytics, we discuss about spend on particular materials or overall spend on particular vendors. This analysis is done. Cash flow forecast, because when we are buying, we have to pay them as per our agreed credit terms. So this forecasting is done. Accrual status, what are the pending invoices, pending accounts payable? This analysis is being done. Discrepancies in accounts payable, if any, they have been pointed out. They are to be pointed out by either continuous monitoring team or internal audit team. Average invoice value, these are the certain ratios which are calculated to measure efficiency in purchase department, procurement department, like average invoice value, average invoice approval time, POs delivered, unacknowledged POs. This efficiency is measured with this data. Invoice transit time, what is the transit time? It has been reduced now because all the invoices are available electronically. And whenever we generate our invoices, we send them to our customers instantly by email. Similarly, when vendors dispatch the materials, they immediately send their invoice as well as e-way bill electronically to us. So this invoice transit time has been reduced whenever this transmission is taken place electronically. Payable liabilities in transit. Suppose goods have been dispatched and not received. How much quantum is there in transit? So these are some of the aspects of analytics which is carried out for procurement department. Now, what is the procurement life cycle? There are these 5-6 subgroups in this. First is vendor management, then ordering, then sourcing, then material receipt, purchase accounting, and payment. These are the main subgroups in overall procurement life cycle. And auditor is involved. Auditor has to carry out internal audit of all of these activities, maybe as per the periodicity which is decided with the management, top management, that is audit committee or board of directors or managing director in case of small and medium companies. So this audit cycle will be decided in consultation with that, and procurement life cycle, entire procurement life cycle will be audited. Now we'll discuss some of the facets of these 6 procurement life cycle subgroups. First is vendor management. So company will have data of all the existing vendors, but they will be interested in developing fresh vendors also, either for same items which are being procured, or there will be certain additional items they are required to procure due to change in technology, change in product mix, etc. So they have to call for request for information. They have to collect the information about probable vendors from various sources like directories, data available on web, etc. They will try to collect information about these probable vendors, and they will call for information from them. Now, most of the companies, they have put this function on their website also. They have prepared, they have EMR certain area so that new vendors which they want to supply to the any particular company, they can go and register them and submit their information and get empaneled with the company. So this function also is digitalized now. Then vendor empanelment will take place. Once this information is received from vendors, it will be analyzed. Vendors may be visited, and whatever vendor empanelment process is being prepared by the company. In case of large companies, it will be very elaborate process, including visits to their uh, plant, visits to their factories, interactions with them, etc. And vendor will be empaneled. After empanelment, vendor master creation will be done in SAP or in ERP by obtaining a variety of data and documents like supporting documents like GST registration, PAN, memorandum, etc. Vendor master will be created. Auditor has to play a very important role in this vendor master creation and maintenance. We'll discuss some brief about this later on also. Then modifications will take place. This data will not remain static, and whenever changes are taking place, changes will be done in vendor master, and auditor has to play again very important role in this. As we talked about vendor performance, uh, each company has to assess whether vendor is performing properly up to the criteria which has been determined for a variety of items or variety of vendors. This will be made known to the vendors also. That will be your performance will be judged on these criteria, and marking will be done, gradation will be done. And if you are fitting in that criteria only, you will be continued. In case of uh, marks are very less, you will be discontinued also. So vendors also made known about this criteria, and auditor has to play important part in this vendor evaluation process once it is carried out to ensure that it suits the objectives of the organization. Vendor account reconciliations also is very important financial, though it is a part of financial audit, is very important part, and this exercise is carried out periodically, at least once in a year, maybe more frequently in case of large transactions, maybe quarterly or half yearly basis. Sourcing function, which is next subgroup. Material requirement planning will be done in any business. It may be manufacturing business, trading business. They have to plan what materials are required at what time, in which quantity. It will depend upon the production plan or sales plan of any enterprise, and accordingly, the which types of materials are needed, that will be decided. This function is totally automated in case of large companies. We are talking about vehicle manufacturing company. They will run their MRP based on sales plan maybe once in a at the beginning of the month, and that will be modified maybe on weekly basis, daily basis, and they will determine which materials are required to be procured. Even in case of small business, this material requirement planning is done. It is an important function in our household. Also, we do requirement planning. What groceries we have to buy during the month, though it may not be documented, but this planning is done. So it is an important function. Identifying materials to be procured, this will be generated. Data will be generated, and then purchase requisitions will be raised based on this data, which will be sent to purchase department, based on which they will initiate purchases. Now, quantity and time of delivery, that will be decided based on the quantity will be decided based on the material requirement plan which has been prepared, and time of delivery is also important, and lead time which is required by the supplier, each supplier, that will be considered, and accordingly procurement will be done. Then request for quotations, if it is non-routine item, request for quotations will be sent. in certain materials, certain products prices are changing very frequently. Agro-based products, oils, sugar, etc. So these quotations will be called on whenever new purchase is required to be made. In case of certain products, industrial products, this will not be done regularly. Contracts will be entered with our suppliers, and rate will be decided. May not be for complete year, for certain period, say for this month or this fortnight, this will be the rate, and unless change is requested, this rate will be continued. In case of automobile companies, they enter into contracts for the year, that this is the quantity to be supplied, for which requisition will be given, which quantity will be supplied in which week, and the rate also being decided, and contracts are being made. This is being followed whenever the quantum of supply is large, and in case of all critical items, these contracts are made. Then whenever quotations are being called, comparative rate analysis will be made. Both these functions have been automated and in ERP with the help of even mobile apps, so that whatever data is received, it will be sent by the vendor through their mobile app or through their ERP. Will be receiving quotations, and analysis will be done automatically in ERP. So based on this, evaluation will be done, and negotiations will be taking place with the vendors, maybe on telephonic negotiations, and it will be decided from whom which quantity is to be procured. Final price fixation will be done. There will be layers of approval in any company, and accordingly, for purchase officer, purchase manager, head of purchase department, or even MD, whatever hierarchy is there, accordingly, approval of that particular official will be taken before placing purchase order, and then purchase order will be placed. So purchase order will be coming under ordering and follow-up function, issuance of purchase order from ERP. This function is now highly automated. Earlier is pre-computerized arena. It used to be done manually. Manual purchase order will be written. It will be typed in some cases, and it will be sent by post to the party. Now these POs are also generated through ERP, and they are also transmitted to the vendors electronically through emails after attaching digital signatures of the concerned officials. So this is a highly digitalized function. Communication of PO to vendors, follow-up for delivery. Once purchase orders are given with the lead time on the date of delivery, considering the lead time, delivery date will be fixed, and delivery will be given by the suppliers at the factories or shops, whatever it is of the company. So if that is not coming, follow-up mechanism should be in place. And this also has been automized. So if you have placed a purchase order for 1,000 and delivery date is 9 June, 8 June itself, reminder will be sent by email to the company. Suppose on 9th June, no delivery is received, again, follow-up will be done either through email, or the purchase officer will get a list in the morning. These are the items which are to be received today, and he will do follow-up on telephonically. And suppose partial delivery is received, 500 items are received and 500 are not received, that will be carried forward and available for the purchase officer for follow-up on subsequent days. So this follow-up function is also important. Then inspection, some of the companies, it will be done at the vendors' factories, vendors' workshop itself. In case of automobile companies, this is the trend now, that components are verified at vendors' workshop, and they are accepted, then only they are sent to the company's factory. And after this inspection, intimation, dispatch will be made by vendors, and intimation will be given. Again, nowadays it is given electronically, that whenever they are sending invoice, that will be received immediately by the company from its vendors electronically. Either delivery will be given to the company's factory, or sometimes it will be collected from vendors or transporters by the company. Both practices are prevalent, either door delivery of materials to the factory or collection from company. So this is ordering and follow-up function. Next is material receipt function. And internal audit, auditor has to carry out internal audit of each of these activity by collecting necessary data from the ERP. Why we are discussing these steps? At each step, internal audit is involved. So material receipt function, materials will be received at the security gate of the, if it is a factory or plant, it will be received at the security gate and verification of documents and primary check of materials will be carried out. And then GRN or MRN will be prepared at the, most of the companies, they prepare at the gate itself. Stores officers are posted at the gate. And then it will be transferred, material will be kept in the warehouse and documents will be transferred for the purpose of quality control check. And they will take the sample and carry out quality control. Either it will be internally by that company's officials or sometimes external agencies also will visit in certain cases. And it will be approved by quality control officials, and then GRN will be finally approved and material receipt function will be over. Certain part may be rejected, and these materials will be rejected. Either they will be taken away by the vendors. They have to be intimated that so and so part has been rejected, so and so quantity has been rejected, and you collect them. Again, follow-up is required to be made. Or some companies use these materials and with obtaining some discount. It depends upon the type of the product and type of the company's final products. So this is the material receipt function, and auditor has to, internal auditors have to concentrate on these functions also. Then purchase, next is purchase accounting function, which will be the finance or accounts department. Earlier, three-way matching of the bills used to take place: purchase orders, GRN, purchase invoice. Auditors, internal auditors used to verify all these three documents, manually tick them and see that they are in sync. If purchase invoice is coming at a higher rate or GRN is incorrectly prepared, then they have to point out these errors which are required to be rectified. Now this three-way matching also is being done electronically. Some of the large companies, as we discussed, they have automated these functions and three-way matching is being done automatically. And audit is also being conducted at the end of the day automatically. Some companies use this four-way matching function where tolerance levels are also important and four-way matching is being done. Next important part is payment to vendors. And earlier it was totally manual by writing of checks. Now this function is totally automized. Most of the companies are using services of banks to automate this function so that time of the accounts department is much saved in writing the checks and sending it to the vendors. So the part which is to be a role which is to be completed by accounts department is selection of invoices for payment. Sometimes it is totally automated. So whatever invoices are falling due for payment during a particular week, they will be selected. If they want to prioritize considering the availability of funds, then manual selection has to be done. Some of the companies will pay on due date, but due date or on a particular day during the week or fortnight after the due date. So that also will be intimated to the vendors that our payment cycle is this. So on every 14th and 28th of the month, your bills will be selected and payment will be made. So this first two functions have to be done by accounts department for selection of invoices for payment. Some of the companies will pay before due date also by availing cash discounts. So this function also will be carried out by accounts department depending upon the availability of funds for the payment to vendors. So terms will be negotiated at the time of price fixation itself. Let's suppose instead of rate term decided of say 30 days, if you are paid on 15th day, you will give so and so 1%, 2% discount on the same. Now, as we discussed, payment will be made through internet banking, and instead of paying each and every supplier, by batch is sent by the bank, by the company to the banks, and banks effect payment to all these vendors on the decided date. So this time taken for even making payment for each and every vendor separately, this has been reduced by most of the large companies, large and medium companies. So this was the last function in the procurement cycle. And then we will discuss about some of the internal audit steps which are taken uh, in this total cycle. We cannot discuss each and every for a want of time. Purchase order issuance process. So this is very important part, purchase order issuance, and auditor will play important part in purchase orders issuance process. I put these two items here. PO issued for right price and right quantity and with right delivery terms. The delivery terms with the supplier will be decided based on the requirements of the company as well as lead time taken by the supplier for manufacturing. If they are manufactured items, manufacturing this particular item. So accordingly, delivery terms will be decided. Price will be negotiated with the suppliers. And as we discussed, in case of many of the organizations, whatever items are required to be procured on day-to-day, weekly basis, they enter into contracts also, so that price is also determined for a particular period. Quantity also is determined and communicated, and some minor variations will be taking place. But in case of other items, POs are required to be issued, and this is the complete process. And auditor is supposed to verify the complete process. Suppose it is a contract, annual contract is made with supplier. Whenever this annual contract is made, internal auditor will take data of these contracts. Suppose price rise is given. How is that price rise decided by the company? That will be audited. There will be components in this price like raw material cost, labor cost, overheads, and profit margin, etc. This typically happens in automobile companies which are procuring components from other companies. So this data will be taken, and auditor has to verify and ensure that this data is appropriate. Whatever rise is given, suppose steel is involved in this manufacturing, it is used as a raw material by our supplier, and he has asked for certain price rise in steel. Whether that is in sync with the rise in prices which has taken place in earlier period, earlier month, quarter, etc. This will be verified by the internal auditor from independent sources by taking the data. This data also should be available with the procurement department, because while sanctioning this price rise, they have to study this data, and accordingly they have to sanction this price rise. So this part will be verified by internal auditor. In some of the companies, large companies, before placing order also this pre-audit is being done, so that whenever price is given and which is decided by the purchase department, procurement department, it will be first audited by internal auditor, and then only price rise will be released. In case the quotations have been called for from the suppliers, and then a single PO is issued for the supplier, then comparative analysis has to be made by the company, by procurement department. So auditor will verify which quotations have been issued, which quotations have been received from probable vendors, and then how comparative analysis is done, and whether negotiations have taken place, and how this right price has been decided. This is one of the important area, because entire spend of the company on materials will be decided once purchase order is issued. Accounts department has to just account for the purchase invoice based on the PO. So accounts department cannot decide what to spend. That is being decided by purchase department, because procurement department is the department which will decide the price, and what is to be purchased, it will be decided by the production department or production planning department. So they will tell what is to be purchased and what quantity is to be purchased, and price will be decided by the purchase department. So both these functions are important. And in case of price, internal auditor has to focus on uh, procurement department. They have taken right steps to decide to ensure that right price has been paid. Since this is a fraud-prone area, internal auditor may sometimes, at the instance of the management or suo moto, if he thinks that the right price is not being paid, because nowadays a lot of information is available on the website in public domain, so he can just inquire. Suppose particular thing is a particular item is purchased by purchase department at say 1,000 rupees per piece or per kg. He can just get some data from public domain whether that item is available at that rate or lower rate, and he can give his suggestions. He can carry out this exercise. So internal auditor has to play very important role in this PO issuance or contract function. Next important part is approval by delegated authority, and companies will decide the authority based on the price of the item or total value of the PO. It will be authorized by a particular official, say purchase officer or assistant manager. Purchase will have authority up to say 1 lakh. Purchase manager will have authority up to 5 lakhs. GM purchase will have authority up to say 25 lakhs. Now above that, each PO has to go to say executive director or managing director, whatever it is. So whether purchase order has been approved by this delegated authority, that is very important. Auditor has to take data of maybe purchase orders issued during a period and has to ensure maybe on sampling method that orders within the particular price value range have been approved by appropriate authority. The order which is transmitted to the vendors, it may not be signed by that authority. That may be signed by a junior official in the purchase department, but their authorization has to be taken on some internal documents. Nowadays, it will also be available electronically. Suppose some comparative statement is sent to managing director electronically, it is discussed with him. He will give his approval on email that yes, we are finalizing this price. And approval is given. So that document should be available. In earlier days, the officials used to sign this comparative statement, which was being made on paper, and that was being written by purchase department, procurement department. So this is a purchase order issuance process. Another important part is amendments. Whatever purchase orders are placed, sometimes amendments have to be given to this purchase orders, and similar process has to be followed, that whatever rate amendments have been given or quantity amendments have been given, they have been approved by proper authority. That has to be verified by internal auditors. So audit of purchase order amendments is a separate area, and that has to be carried out periodically by internal auditors. Now we'll discuss brief what queries or what issues can be involved in purchase order management. POs are issued within a time frame after generation of PRs. As we discussed, MRP will be done. It will be handled by say production planning department, and purchase requisitions will be issued, giving the timelines within which the materials are required. So after purchase requisitions are given, purchase order are also required to be issued so that purchase is initiated, procurement is initiated. So internal auditor has to play a very important part. This is the area where a lot of monitoring is done by the companies. It is required to be done. But if there are lacunas, internal auditors have to point out whatever gaps are there, whatever bottlenecks are there. So what internal auditor has to take the data of purchase order, purchase requisition and purchase orders generated during a period, maybe week or month. And they have to find out time gap between generation of purchase requisition and generation of purchase orders. They have to find out the time gap. And if the time gap is abnormal, there will be targets given for conversion of PR into PO, internal targets given in the purchase policy or purchase procedures of the company. And if they are being exceeded, then internal auditor has to find out the root cause why these POs are not getting converted, within a time frame. And he not only to report that they are being raised with delay, but identifying root cause is very important, because without that action cannot be taken. It may be a person's fault, or there may be certain hiccups involved in this, that vendors are not ready to supply these items, and we have to look out for another vendors. There may be a variety of reasons for this, but this root cause has to be identified, and accordingly, this make this function efficient. PR should be converted into POs within a definite time frame, because unless that is done, the company will not receive the materials which are to be made available for production purposes. So this generation of PRs into POs and is very important part, and internal auditor can contribute a lot of value addition in this area. Then process of review of purchase orders which are outstanding for delivery after due date. Due date of delivery, as we discussed, will be given in the purchase order itself. It will be communicated to the supplier, and supplier is vendor is supposed to deliver the materials on due date, not too much before due date, because that will increase our inventory and inventory cost. So it should not be received too early, also too late also. Both are important. So delivery on due date is very important. We will discuss about automobile companies. Suppose a particular automobile company is rolling out 10 cars of a particular say model every day, then they will require all these parts for assembly according to their timeline of assembly, whatever time is required for assembly. Suppose for engine assembly, you require 8 days for assembly. So all the parts which are required for engine assembly, they should be available 8 days when this assembly is taken, and before rolling out the car. So accordingly, this due date which is required to be given for delivery, it will be decided. We are just discussing 1 minute, but it is a very complex process of deciding when this delivery is required for particular assembly, especially in case of say vehicle manufacturing companies or large companies which are running stores. We take example of large stores like say DMart. They are operating stores in about 10, 12 states. There may be thousands of stores, and they require variety of items. They may be dealing in say 5,000 items which are required to be stored in their stores, and they will be available to the supplier on day-to-day basis. So this material requirement planning has to be automized with the use of various tools, and auditor duties to audit this data which is available. So task of auditors is also very important. So this is about process of review of outstanding POs, and whatever bottlenecks or whatever inefficiencies we observe in this, they have to be escalated. Again, everywhere, internal auditor's role is find out root cause, why things are not taking place, so that company can take corrective actions on this based on this root cause. Similarly, POs against which partial deliveries are made. This is also a very important part. Sometimes it will happen that partial delivery is made and that PO is closed. No further delivery is made. Suppose PO is given for say every week PO is given for 1,000 numbers. Only 980, 970, 975 numbers are supplied, and the rest of the items are not supplied. There may be some reason for this. Otherwise, that root cause has to be identified and acted upon. It may happen that sometimes partial delivery is made against certain POs because supplier is expecting price rise. Suppose again PO given in say May month of May 2025, partial delivery is made because from 1st June price rise is given, and thereafter full delivery is made. Then that is a loss to the organization, because loss to the company, because that delivery is made partial with the intention that it has to be supplied at a lower cost. So this part is also very important from this aspect, cost aspect, and auditor has to keep watch on partial deliveries. Price and delivery term amendments, we discussed about this. This is also very important area. Delivery terms amendments may not take place frequently, but price amendments may take place. Certain prices of certain items are sensitive, And whenever price rise takes place, like we discuss about steel price may increase, and based on that, components which are supplied to automobile companies or other companies, prices may be varied. So this verification of amendments is very important part. Similarly, in services also, suppose transporter services availed by the company, then whenever diesel price rise takes place, nowadays it is not too frequent, but earlier diesel prices used to vary on week to week basis. And whenever price rise is beyond certain limit, then rate increase is required to be given to the transporter. There will be definite agreement between the company and its transporter, either inbound transport or outbound transport, that beyond this particular price rise, if diesel price is increased, then price rise in the rate of transportation charges will be given. And this is also a very important area for the internal auditor to comment upon. So these are some of the aspects. There are variety of other aspects also in this purchase order management. And fine tuning of this PO management process to suit the company's objectives is very important, and internal auditor can play very important role in this. Now, in case of uh, other, there are variety of industries like infrastructure company. Uh, Procurement is very different than we discussed about automobile company. We discussed about stores, chain of stores, retail stores. Their procurement style is totally different. So nature of business, type of business of the company which we are auditing is very important. Internal auditor cannot remain away from this. He has to study in detail what is the nature of business of the company which is auditing, what are the important features, how the procurement functions takes place, how the suppliers manufacture this, in the sense when this will be made available, whether this is agro-based product or mining product which is being used by our vendors, and they will be supplying to us. And based on that, this procurement function will be managed by the company. An internal auditor has to be aware of this. He has to study this in detail. Risk in procurement department. There are various risks involved in procurement function. In any of the operational risk, any of the department of the company, it will face various operational risks which are required to be commented by internal auditor, and procurement department also faces various risks. We'll discuss some of the risks which are faced by procurement department, and it is the role of the internal auditor to ensure that the company has taken appropriate corrective steps to mitigate those risks, and so that losses are controlled. We are talking about vendor creation. So fictitious vendor creation is one of the risks which is being faced by the companies. Those who want to take disadvantage of the situation, they will create fictitious vendors which are not existing. Again, there will be lapse of control. Without this, it cannot happen, because there will be multiple departments involved in vendor creation. At least two departments, that is finance also wait this. Internal auditors also have to verify this, but that is an audit function. So it will not be left, it should not be left only with the procurement department to create a new vendor. IT department also will be partially involved whenever required. So internal auditor should verify this data, and he has to ensure that fictitious vendors are not created and do not exist in this vendor master. Whatever documents are required to be obtained for vendor creation, they are properly obtained. Auditors can carry out a lot of data analytics in this data of vendors which have been created or newly created during the period. They can compare data of newly created vendors with other data, and to ensure that fictitious vendors do not take place. If there is a suspicion, then extensive checking has to be done for this vendor creation process to ensure that fictitious vendors or vendors with related vendors are not being created. Related means suppose a purchase officer is creating vendor. He may create a vendor for his relatives, wife, son, daughter, or near relatives, etc. It is not so easy to find out such cases, but auditor has to carry out extensive checking by taking more details from the purchase officer to find out whether such vendors are being created. Unauthorized vendor master modifications. Vendor master, as we say, it is not static. Modifications may take place. And as vendor master creation, authority will be decided. For modification also, authority will be decided. And internal auditors have to ensure that these modifications are also taking place as per the laid down procedures of the company. Most important part on this vendor master modification is payment bank and payment account number. It should not happen that this data is changing frequently. If there are frequent changes, then there is suspicion, because normally banks, companies do not change the banks. It will be very infrequent. So whenever changes are being done in this bank of the vendor, bank and bank account number of the vendor, then it has to be properly audited, and internal account department of the company and also internal auditors have to ensure that whatever data is submitted by the vendor, it is genuine. If fraud is somebody has to play fraud, it may happen that before the payment date, bank of the some different bank will be named, some different bank will be put in this vendor master, and again it will be rolled after payment is made. So if this is happening, there is a clear indication of the fraud which is being perpetrated by the employee. Then the request for quotation is sent to unapproved vendors. So this sending the request for quotation is also process is automated. Earlier it was manual, mails were being sent manually or requests were being sent telephonically and by paper to vendors. Once the company has the policy to procure from only approved vendors, all these requests for quotation should be sent to approved vendors also. In case of stray items which are required to be procured, stray means regular items, irregular items, which is on the not in the regular plan of the company, then sometimes new vendors have to be identified. But for this also, vendor empanelment process has to be carried out. The vendor should be approved by the management first, by the appropriate authority, and then only request for quotation should be sent. So this is also one of the fraud-prone area and risk involved by procurement being done from unapproved vendors. The next is unapproved purchase requisition. Though MRP process is there, sometimes manual requisitions are required to be given, and they may not be approved by the appropriate authority. And if it may happen that procurement is done based on these unapproved requisitions, and it is resulting into unnecessary inventory, it may happen. So audit of purchase requisitions is an important part of the internal audit, and internal auditor has to ensure that requisitions are approved by the appropriate authority. They should not be approved by purchase department, because there will be not segregation of duty, because purchase department is role is to procure, and production planning department is supposed to decide what is to be procured for the company. So ideally the purchase requisition should be approved by production planning department, and with the hierarchy, whatever is being decided. Then next is unapproved purchase orders. We discussed about approval of purchase order. Still, it may happen that because of exigencies, approved orders, purchase orders are not approved by the appropriate authority. So it is unapproved order itself. It may be sent by a junior person only, with verbal, sometimes with verbal approval from the appropriate authority. but it has to be documented. Documentation is very important. So whenever such exigencies take place, subsequent approval at least should be taken for the purchase order. And this is very important operational risk in purchase department. Internal auditors, when they carry out audit of orders, especially orders which are not part of MRP or orders which are given on urgent basis, etc. So, or orders which are given on not normal supplier, fresh suppliers are being sought for this purpose, then it may happen that these decisions may not be approved by the appropriate authority, and auditors have to find out root cause for this and take corrective actions, suggest corrective actions. Then unauthorized terms and conditions. Company will decide the payment terms based on its payment cycle, overall working capital cycle. Of course, it will depend whenever the supplier is the dominant and supplier is dictating the terms, it will depend upon the requirement of the suppliers. Sometimes we have to go and pay cash, that is pay funds, and then only these materials will be available. It may happen that payment will be made in advance and then only supply will be made. So depending upon case to case basis, these terms and conditions will be decided. There will be variety of other terms and conditions, including quality, etc. So the purchase order will contain all these payment terms, what is rejection, percentage of rejections, and whatnot. So all these terms and conditions will be part of the included in the purchase order. Some will be standard terms, and some of the terms will be specific to that particular supplier or particular item. And purchase department, procurement department has to ensure that these particular terms are appropriately included in the purchase order and communicate to the supplier to avoid further disputes. And suppose some of these terms are not complied, then there will be issues which will be escalated by purchase officials. Now, suppose some of these terms are changed and proper authority is not taken. Supplier is insisting you change my credit term from 30 days to 15 days. And purchase officer sumoto is changing that without approval from appropriate authority. Then that is the discrepancy which is required to be pointed out by the internal auditors. Unfavorable terms negotiated with vendors. This is a very important aspect. The terms and conditions which are negotiated, they should be in the best interest of the organization. And procurement auditor, when he's very auditing various items, he can know what are the normal terms of the organization. So whenever the terms are unfavorable, he has to point out this. This is the very important risk faced by the organization, any company. Suppose materials are being procured from 3 vendors, and 2 vendors are giving 30-day credit terms, and another vendor he's insisting that he should be paid within 3 days. Then discount should be obtained. He should, whatever cash discount is involved, it should be reduced from the price, and price should be less for this particular vendor. Suppose this term is being accepted, then all the 3 vendors should not be paid the same price. If it is the case, that is the unfavorable term negotiated with the vendors. This risk is faced, and it is auditor's duty to point out this. Similarly, possible disputes. There are areas of possible disputes, maybe on quality and variety of other commercial terms, which are likely. And if such terms are included in the purchase orders, auditor can discuss this with the procurement department, with the management, and suggest remedial measures on this, so that probable disputes can be avoided. Then delay in ordering materials leading to disruption of operations is very important aspect. We discussed about turnaround time of the conversion of PR into PO and supply also. So this is very important, and in case of large companies, these ratios are being calculated for item wise, supplier wise. They are used for suppliers performance evaluation. What is the delay in supplying material? Similarly, first is delay in ordering material. So sometimes it will be inefficiency of the particular purchase officer, because of which delays will take place, and it is likely that operations of the company are disturbed because of this particular material is not available. If it is coming from distance place, it will always take time to receive the material if purchase orders are delayed. In case of imports, lead time is more. It may be 1 month to 3 months also, even more than that. So if orders are being delayed, purchase orders are delayed, this will disrupt the operations. So this is most of the important risk faced by purchase department. Then adherence to contract, not insurance, leading to excess cost. Sometimes contract terms are not complied by the uh, suppliers, and suppose supplier is supposed to deliver certain numbers every week, certain quantity every week, and if these terms are not followed, then the company may have to procure this material at excess cost, and it has to bear the cost. This while entering into terms, negotiating terms with the supplier, if such eventuality takes place, this cost is also recovered from that supplier. So adherence to this contract terms, commercial terms is very important, and this risk has to be properly mitigated by the procurement department. Dealing with non-performing vendors, this is very important part. Most of the companies have done lot of study, exercise, lot of efforts they have taken on vendors. Many companies have reduced the number of vendors and made them efficient, and taken various steps to ensure that vendors are supplying, carrying out their activities efficiently and supplying to the company uh, at appropriate time, at appropriate price, etc. But still, some vendors may face certain problems and they may not be not performing properly. And performance analysis is very important in case of large enterprises and critical items. It may be taking done on more frequent basis, like quarterly basis. A lot of data analytics is being used, and this function is also automated. Earlier, all these delays were being calculated manually, and um, performance evaluation was done. There are a lot of technical things which are going into this, like quality parameters, and so with this data analytics, performance evaluation tools are being used by procurement department or company's quality control department to analyze performance of the vendors to mitigate this risk. Inactive vendor codes exist in the system. So some of the vendors may be inactive. They have discontinued operations with the company. So these codes should at least temporarily block, so that suppose the vendor has not supplied during last 2 years. One fine morning, he's supplying the goods, and with with the approval only purchase officer, he's buying the goods. It should not happen. He has to re-empanel, or he should be reinstated. So such inactive vendor codes have to be properly dealt with by the company. So these are some of the risks in procurement function, operational risks. We are talking about data analytics, and a lot of data analytics can be done. We have discussed some of this. We'll again go through this. What data analytics can be done either by the company or by the internal auditors in this procurement function. We have discussed about vendor master data. This should be audited by internal auditors at least once in a year or more frequently in case of new additions, deletions for vendors. So vendor master data audit is very important. Most of you must have carried out this with the help of Microsoft Excel or other data analysis tools, whatever we are using. Multiple vendors with same contact details, PAN, GST, to find out these are related parties and whether they have been appropriately empaneled. There may be some genuine cases also, but a watch has to be kept on this. Duplicate vendors, sometimes it happens that though ERP control can be inbuilt to avoid creation of duplicate vendors, sometimes it may happen that duplicate vendors are created. Similarly, duplicate item master is created. So it has to be avoided. And when your audit of vendor master is being done by internal auditors, they have to find out duplicate vendors. Item code will be different for these vendors, and sometimes due to wrong spelling of the names, duplicate vendors may take place. So sometimes manual scrutiny is also essential for this. Like the word limited in case of ABC Limited, once it is given typed as LIMITED, and in other case it is LTD. So duplicate vendor may happen. This can be found out with the same GST number also. These cases can be immediately rolled out. Actually, ERP internal control has been placed that with the same GST number, vendor should not be created unless uh, genuine case is there. Genuine case means suppose one company has 3-4 factories and separate codes are required to be created for the same PAN number or same GST number or separate GST number with separate state will be used, but PAN number will be same. So, but duplicate vendor audit is very important and genuine cases have to be identified for this, as we discussed. Unauthorized master changes we discuss, especially it can take place in bank accounts. Masters with faulty payment terms. Payment terms decided are different and they are not properly incorporated in the master. And if they are being used for payment of actual payment of the invoices, then payment will be made either early or delayed payment may happen, and it will affect the procurement function. Missing master information, address, telephone number, etc. Essential part. In SAP, there are at least 300 fields in this master, vendor master. So all of the details may not be required for each enterprise. So they have to decide which are the essential field, mandatory fields which are required to be filled in, and which are non-mandatory fields. And so internal auditor should carry out analytics of this vendor master information, and they have to suggest that certain fields should be made mandatory. These are some of the items where data analytics can be done on vendor master. Similarly, materials master also data analytics can be carried out, as we discussed. Like duplicate vendor, duplicate material codes may take place. Duplicate vendors sometimes have to be incorporated, as we discussed, for multiple factories, but duplicate material code should not be there. But we have observed in some of the clients that because they cannot identify the particular item code, new code is created, maybe with the sanction also, and it creates a lot of problems later on because when we are verifying the stock, we do not know under which particular item code stock is stored. So duplicate material codes should not exist at all. Redundant material codes, item codes, because some of the items may be discarded and the item code may become redundant there to be blocked. Inadequate item description. So the item description also should be properly spelled out so that one can understand what is this item. Sometimes duplicate master material codes will exist with differentiation in item description. Item is the same, but this description is given differently, and such codes are created duplicate. Unauthorized changes to material codes, that also should not happen. So it should be created with appropriate authority. Then for value add, which is to be given, or internal controls which are to be executed, variety of trend analysis can be done by procurement department. This trend analysis of net price paid for each material during the particular period, maybe quarter. This analysis can be done. Excel can be used, or Excel or Access, Idea, tools like Idea, they can also be used. This trend analysis is very important for the management, and some of the companies may be doing it on weekly basis also, large companies. Whenever prices are changing frequently, this area is very important, and internal auditor can give very important value addition to the management based on this trend analysis of prices paid for materials. Similarly, high value materials which are procured from a single vendor. This is very important to mitigate the risk of procurement at that particular vendor, because of certain reasons he is not supplying, and if it is a single vendor, then company may face risk. So it has to de-risk itself by procuring important materials which constitute high value of total material consumption from at least multiple vendors, 2 or 3 vendors. And auditors' suggestions should be important in this. Purchase requisition remaining pending conversion, abnormal per time. We discussed about this. Low value materials being procured through multiple POs. As we discussed, the purchase department has to increase its efficiency, and lot of steps can be taken for this. So whenever low value materials are being procured and orders are giving on, say, once or twice a week for this can be avoided, because every time PRs will be generated, POs will be generated, and supplier will be contacted. He will complain that it is not an economic quantity for him to supply. So whenever these C-class materials are being prepared, some different plans are being chalked out by the company to procure these materials, so that number of POs are also less. And of course, inventory carrying cost is also very important part. By making balancing of both of them, they can reduce PO cost and optimize the inventory. Splitting of POs to circumvent approvals. We are discussing about delegated authority, approval of delegated authority. Sometimes the delegated authority is not available, so purchase officer will split the PO. If 1,000 items are to be procured, he will raise one PO today and one PO tomorrow, so that he need not go to his higher authority and obtain his signature. So internal auditor also has a very important part. They have to collect the data of all the POs for a particular vendor or a particular item raised during the period, and he has to ensure that they have been properly raised, and this splitting of POs do not take place. Like splitting of vouchers also is done by finance department sometimes to avoid approvals. Splitting of POs may take place. POs raised on holidays, weekly offs, beyond office hours, etc. So there should be genuine reason to do this. Sometimes it may happen that this is very important material to be procured, and because of exigency, these POs are required to be raised. Maybe beyond office hours, but holidays and weekly offs, nobody will have access to the company's ERP. So PO should not be raised during such periods. Vendors wherein POs are frequently amended for price, quantity, and other revisions. So this is an area of irregularity, high level irregularity, or even fraud. So this data can be analyzed by the internal auditors by obtaining data of all the purchase order amendments issued during the period. They can analyze whether it is for a particular vendor or item and find out the root cause, why it is happening. POs open for a particular period. I have put here 1 month. POs open for a particular period beyond scheduled delivery dates. It may happen that PO of higher quantity may be raised, and supplier, either we are not interested or supplier is not interested in supplying this. What is the root cause of this? We discussed that price revision is expected by supplier, so we will not supply earlier POs, whether it is happening like that. Root cause has to be identified. Anyway, for increasing efficiency of the purchase department, POs outstanding which are beyond a particular period, they have to be analyzed, and they have to be taken with the management for corrective actions. Similarly, PRs open beyond a particular normal processing period. They have to be analyzed by the company as well as internal auditor, and actions have to be taken. Backdating of POs or PRs. This is also very highly irregular feature. Most of the ERPs do not allow backdating nowadays. But if it is happening by this count or that count, why it is being done, that has a reason has to be identified. Actually, it should be avoided. It should be stopped in ERP. These are the tools which are used for audit, for data analytics, etc. Microsoft Excel, all of us we use some of us, maybe using Access. CADs like ACL and IDEA, they are also available. Similarly, these data analytics tools, Microsoft has also come with Power BI in Excel. And NIME is also a data analysis tools which is being used by auditors. These are some of the data analysis tools. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. We can take questions if any.
Yes. Thank you
Prajakta?
so much. Yes, thank you so much, sir, for such a deep dive in this internal audit of procurement in this digital world. So we have a few questions. I'll ask you one by one.
Yes.
There are two questions with respect to fictitious vendors. One is how
Yes.
fictitious vendors can be identified in SAP system.
Just 1 second. Okay. Um,
Shall I
this
repeat,
very
sir?
no.
Okay.
This is very uh, important aspect. It is not easy task to find out fictitious vendors. Um, we have to analyze data. I'll just compare this with the data of fictitious companies which we are not carrying out any business activity. And these companies, about 10,000 companies have been deregistered by Government of India. All of you must be aware. So they have tried to uh, cache this data. Similarly, um, in SAP or any ERP, when we have to do this activity, if it is a say a limited company, we can find out through their website, through ROC site, whether that company really exists. The company, while empaneling them, our client, while empaneling them, they should have taken all the documents to ensure that this data is correct. They should have taken their memorandum if required, and PAN and GST, etc. And GST department is also declaring that certain companies uh, they are not doing really business, and they are just passing on the invoices without actual transfer of goods. Such data may be available. I'm not sure whether it is available. Auditor has to carry a lot of search in public domain. In case of in certain cases, uh, it may not be say private limited or public limited company. It may be partnership firm also. But by looking at the addresses and other data, and by carrying search in public domain, he can identify whether this company is really doing that business, whether that data is available in public domain. In case of when fraud is expected fraud is suspected, visit is also given by auditors to the whatever address is mentioned by the company in their correspondence. Sometimes we may carry out analytics of their documents submitted of purchase invoices also, how they are submitting documents, whether there is any suspicion in that. So there is not a specific fixed criteria which can be mentioned for finding out the fictitious parties. By analyzing all the data which is available, by looking into data as well as documents, we have to find out whether whatever they are submitting it is right or not.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so there cannot be a robust answer. It will depend on case to case basis.
Yeah. Case to case
Yes.
basis. In certain
And
case, I will
one,
give an example that company has not received the materials. We found it out in one case because the distance given, the distance traveled from the supplier's place to the company's premises. We analyzed the data of trucks through which these materials were carried, and same truck was coming to the company maybe after 2 days or 3 days, and the distance traveled between suppliers' destination from where the materials were supplied and company's premises, it was such that that truck cannot go back and come back within say 16 hours or 24 hours. The distance was such, but these bills were not correct. Fake bills were taken by the company. And by just putting the data of consignments received during, say, a particular month or 2 months, we plotted that data, truck numbers, time of the dispatch, time of the uh, receipt of the materials, e-way bills, etc. We plotted that data and we raised the suspicion, and it was correct that materials had not actually received and all the documents were not genuine. So auditor has to go beyond his normal audit criteria and audit checks which are applied. He has to see beyond that, and then only we'll be able to find out such cases.
Yes. So one more question with respect to fictitious vendors is, what is the risk involved in creating such fictitious vendors?
Risk is that suppose the entire chain of documents are prepared. Suppose we are raising PO and we are also raising goods. We are also preparing JRN and passing the invoices. Payment will be made. So this will be siphoning of funds. We say that yes, we have to plot this data. The case I mentioned, because data was very small, number of cases were very less. But if you see the number of consignments received by very large companies, say if you take off Maruti, um, they are 30,000 to 40,000 parts which they are receiving for each car. They are manufacturing 16 types of models, and there are 160 variants. So there may be different parts, and considering their sale of, say, 10 lakhs vehicles per annum, I do not know, 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs at present. So they'll be seeing so many consignments every day. So multiple thousands of GRNs literally will be prepared every day. So this, then we have to analyze this data only with the help of a tool, and we have to find out. Large companies, data volume will be very large, and unless we do analysis through by using tool and then manual scrutiny, we will not be able to identify this.
Okay.
Yes.
So one more question from CA Pranab is, when quotation rate is much lower than the base rate of tender, whether internal auditor should raise a question?
Yes, definitely. I'll mention the case which has been just published in newspapers. You know that contract was being awarded for some company from Maharashtra, and L&T went against government of Maharashtra in this MSRDC, and then immediately they reduced the contract value by 3,000 crores. So there was suspicion that this was escalated. When the company does some internal exercise, they study the component. This component is to be procured, or this material is to be procured, and this is the best price based on the market study which is being done either domestically or internationally. That yes, in this country this material is available for this price and we can import this. Suppose it is, say, 1,000 rupees, and if we receive quotation for, say, 600 rupees, then why this particular party is supplying this at 600 rupees? What is the source? If we identify that with the best quality material being used, this component can be procured at 1,000 rupees. So the party which is supplying at 600, it may be using inferior material. There may be certain other hiccups in this. Because of this, they are going to supply. So company has to take a conscious decision. They have to make deep study of this. Why this lower rate, much lower than this is given. There will be variation in quotations depending upon the efficiency. Supplier A is supplying as 1,000 rupees and supplier B is supplying as, say, 975 rupees, because either he was to back order or he will be manufacturing with more efficiency. His cost may be less. That much variation is allowable, but such large variation, as we said, 1,000 and 600 rupees, that means some suspicion is there. So company should study this and then take wise decision based on this.
Right. So there are a few questions with respect to the tools that one should use for identifying identifying the fictitious vendors, or maybe identifying some loopholes in the procurement. So one of the questions I'll read out: are there any examples or cases of companies using combination of RPA and AI tools for recording material receipt and updating payables as well as material issues to the production?
As I said, large companies. I know large companies with turnover, say 1,000 crore or say 5,000 crore. They have prepared RPAs. As we discussed earlier, internal audit was done batch wise. Say procurement audit, process audit was being done once in a year, but certain part of the data analytics was being carried out either on quarterly basis or monthly basis. But large companies, considering their value, they, they are carrying out this activity on daily basis. We can call it as continuous internal auditing or continuous monitoring, whatever name given. It may be done by internal audit team or finance team itself, or a separate group, internal control group or monitoring group. So this part is done on daily basis. Then uh, all the routine audit tasks or routine tasks in this monitoring tasks, they have replaced with RPAs. So data extraction of data. Suppose we take consumption. Data of consumption is required to be downloaded from ERP and for the purpose of analysis. Again, nobody will sit and download this data in the morning at 9 o'clock. They have prepared RPAs so that this data is downloaded by that RPA after the cutoff time of say 12 night or 6 in the morning. This data is downloaded and used for the purpose of analytics. And they have prepared tools. I do not know whether ready-made tools are available for this. They may be using ready-made tools or they may be using CAT to analyze this data, because once you are doing this analysis on day-to-day basis, it is a standard analysis with standard nomenclatures in ERP which are being used in file name. So tools like IDEA also can be used, or you can prepare a separate bot for the purpose of this analysis, and it can be carried out. And whatever exceptions are there, then can be thrown out to the audit, process owners. So this is being done by large companies. In case of other companies, it may be manual process. Some companies may be doing it on say weekly or monthly basis also. AI tools, I'm not aware whether any AI tools are available for this purpose of auditing. We at the institute also, we have started with Chat GPT, and I think within 6 months or so, institute will educate us on specific AI tools which will be available for this data analytics, apart from CAT.
Right. And there are a few questions which sir has already answered in his presentation about the tools which are popular or in procurement audit or maybe for analysis. And your suggestion, I think sir has already mentioned about some CATs. He has mentioned about IDEA, NIME.
Yeah.
So that answers
Yeah.
3-4 of the questions which
Yeah,
are
these are
mentioned.
available. Only main important aspect is that whenever we are using IDEA, same data in similar fashion with similar structure should come. Because every time if you have to write an IDEA program, it is taking time. So whenever we are getting same type of data in same structured data, maybe on weekly basis, monthly basis, and IDEA is very useful. But if the data is, if you are doing audit for 10 clients and doing only once, then Excel is also provided data size is appropriate. Then the Excel or Access is also useful. So that decision is to be taken appropriately by the auditors.
Yes. So, sir, with this, we on behalf of Internal Audit Standards Board and on behalf of all the participants, we thank you a lot for such a wonderful insights. So, just to quickly summarize about what through what you have taken us through, you mentioned about the objectives of procurement audit, automation in procurement cycles that had set the tone very correctly. And your insights about the role of internal auditor, associated risk, the ways to mitigate the risks, and you also mentioned about some checkpoints. So those were very helpful. This entire presentation will surely help us all in a process walkthrough, especially for as-is analysis of a P2P function. Then the precise breakdown of internal audit functions in this procurement function was also very much useful. So, on this note, we thank you a lot for this wonderful deliberation. There are a few request from the participants to share your PPT. I think the board and the committee will come up with the decision and how the presentation is to be shared. But with this, we thank you a lot, and thanks to the committee also for this wonderful opportunity, the backend team, to the all participants, and obviously to CA Prakash Kulkarni sir for such a eminent deliberation. And here I announce that we conclude the session with a sense of clarity and renowned responsibility to build the smarter approach and tech-driven approach for the procurement audit. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Thank you all the participants. Thank you Institute as well as all participants for patient hearing. Thank you. Hello. Arun sir, can I exit? Yes, sir.
Yes, we can conclude.
Can I exit? Yeah.